too farty.
No, you are fucking joking. Right, so bad hair day or hat day. I think the hat is better.
Well, anyway, hi.
Oh God, I thought that was going to be I want to build. No,
It was very like it.
It was, wasn't it? Oh, babe.
Morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Sawalha-Adderleys.
What's going on here?
It was the Loose Women Christmas party yesterday, hence why I'm having a bad hair day. I hope you're all well. God, what day is it now? Wednesday. Yeah. It's the big countdown.
Yeah.
Mark and I were looking at the news this morning and just going, Jesus Christ.
What a
misery.
It's
also depressing.
We are going to touch upon some of it, though.
This is the point where we want to eat mince pies and have lovely songs. And
so,
we've not had one Christmas tune play in this house.
Well, no, we haven't. That's very true. Our last coffee moaning will, of course, be Saturday, and we may allow ourselves to wear hats and belch and do things like that. So we will be doing the newspapers. Obviously, Christmas falls on Sunday, so there won't be a No Name Sunday show this coming weekend, but we may drop an old one, as Nadia did last night, didn't you? She dropped an old one. You came in, your knickers were around your neck. What kind of a night was it? Well, it wasn't a night, it was a lunch. Have any of you been to any office parties? Have you come back and regretted it? I mean, how's your head?
It's okay. I came back and I slept for 4 hours on the sofa, and then I slept till 9:30 this morning.
You've slept for approximately 16 hours.
It's really weird. And you know when you're just... I'm so discombobulated from having so much sleep. I can't even get my words out. Yeah. But yeah, it was... Oh God, it was so funny.
Very right, so unique.
We went to this very sort of... very old-fashioned gentleman's drinking club. It's called the Reform Club, and it was the first club to allow women in. It's
bigger than
Reformation. That's the Reformation something or other. Anyway, very very posh, very very oldie worldy, big old creaking leather seats, and the bar was in the library. Thousands of books, real books. We all kept saying.
Did you have a look at any of them?
Wasn't that sort of do? Anyway, we went
wasn't a soiree.
The hushed tones. And so me, Judy and Jane met up first for a drink in the bar there, because then there was a private room for the Loose Women party. And you must have seen Judy on telly. When she's talking about how she loves a really posh accent, but it has to be, and it's like, absolutely, I beg your pardon. So she always does this thing about this posh accent, how she loves it in men, and it has to be super posh. And she loves vocabulary, she always says. I love vocabulary. Anyway, so when we walked in, she went, oh God, I don't think they're ready for us. We sat down in the creaking chairs. Jane Moore was sat there very, very still.
Were they Regency chairs?
Yeah, big, you know, people have sat there for thousands
I mean, imagine
of years.
the flatulence that's gone into
those. Shut up.
Over the years.
Anyway, so then the barman comes over, and I knew what was going to happen. I just knew it, because this happens in various places when I've been in them with Judy. And Judy said...
Did she go past?
She went, could I have... And me and Jane were like this, just looking at it. And even though there were people in the bar, it was silent. It was because people talk like this. She said, could I have a rose champagne?
I thought she was going to say rosé.
That's the point. So me and Jane are like, oh my... He goes, I will go and check if we have any, madam. Anyway, he went off and she goes, I don't think it's going to have any rose. I went, it's not rose, Judy. It's rosé. He's probably gone off to look to see if they've got any rose cordial that they can put into the champagne. And she was like, oh God, that's always happening to me everywhere I go. They put this rose stuff into my champagne. Because it's rosé.
So she didn't know it was rosé?
Well, she knows it's rosé in wine, but I think she thinks it's champagne. Anyway, we were laughing so much, and he came back. So then he came back, she went, it's actually rosé champagne I would like. And then he came back with this rosé champagne. Oh, it was so funny.
That's very funny.
It was very lovely, but oh my God, the food was so tiny.
Really?
Like, the tart starter was that big. And you know how that very old world Brit, they eat very abstemiously, don't they? It's like they'll have a quarter of a mackerel for breakfast
yes.
with maybe half a poached egg.
Yes.
So the bread rolls came round and I was like, big.
You can't homp.
I thought I'm going to have 4. I
Yeah.
can't. I'm not going to be able to. I hadn't had any bloody breakfast. I should have had a sausage sandwich before I left.
You can't homp.
So, well, I humped. I said, "Can I have 4 bread rolls?" And the woman went, "Yeah." I took 4 bread rolls. Somebody said to
So you
them,
came out hungry.
I'm still hungry. I'm starving now. I'm still hungry.
Oh dear. Big word, Nads. What, homp? Sending love from Mayfair. Alzaran, that's Alzaran who we bump into. I've got it. I've got it.
Who's
Alzaran, the chap that we bump into next to the Gagosian. Do you remember?
Oh,
Yeah.
is that you? Oh, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Such a lovely gentleman.
Yeah,
Such
really
a lovely
lovely.
gentleman. Nice
Christos
to meet you.
Andrio, a rose, champagne. Yes.
Oh, it's so fun. Could I have? This is ever since you met Prince Charles at the palace. This is the problem.
Oh, Reese Roberts, fascinated to see your top 10. Don't mention decision to leave to Nanny Di. That will be happening between Christmas and New Year's for sure. So hangover. Do you have a hangover?
I don't know who I am.
Right. Okay. I think that qualifies as a hangover.
I'm not sure where I am, who I am, or what the hell I'm doing sat here in a hat.
But that begs the question, how much of a hangover is hunger and exhaustion?
Well, exactly. I was absolutely so hungry all day, and I'm still hungry. And I think also what happens with a lot of people around Christmas party time is, like me, I haven't really had a drink for weeks and weeks and weeks, just one, because I've been having this ADHD medication, which when you're not supposed to drink, so I didn't have any more.
You're not supposed to drink at all?
Well, any medication you're not supposed to drink, are you? It puts extra pressure on your
But
body.
some drugs don't specify that.
No, you really shouldn't.
Why am I
drink.
looking like I'm concerned? I mean,
You
I don't
really
drink.
shouldn't drink with ADHD medication because it slightly raises
Shit a brick.
It raises your blood pressure, and then alcohol raises your blood pressure. The two things together aren't good. But the thing about ADHD, my medication, of course, always check with your own doctor. I'm not talking about everyone's. My medication is
Please,
that I
Dana.
have to, because it only lasts in your body for 10 hours, 8 hours. If you were to have it, you could have anyway. Basically,
Hell, that's boring.
Sorry.
You're
No,
right.
this is what I was saying.
Just
is
give us
that
a nice,
you
fun,
can have,
punchy
if you
answer.
want to drink. If I want to drink, then I don't have my medication on that day, and it's
Fucking
totally,
hell. This is like when Nanny Di talks about transport for London.
It's totally fine. So I didn't have my medication yesterday, so that I could have a drink.
Does the A30 feed into the A303 by any
Sorry,
chance?
it was very boring.
No, it's all right. It wasn't
I'll
that
shut the
boring.
fuck
But
up.
no, I'm not saying that.
No, it
but
was. It was boring.
but
It was
a
boring.
all
Not,
right.
I accept.
It was a little bit boring. Okay, well, look, here's a list from of all places, the Washington Post, on how to avoid a hangover. And I just thought this might be useful for all of you out there who are planning on
never
drinking.
drink on an empty stomach.
Well,
that's one.
always eat a meal or a hearty snack. Not very well, tra-la-la. I was just saying, of course, we are waiting the Oscar news tonight. People are asking me how we feel. Very philosophical and very realistic, but also very nervous and very proud that
Don't
we've got
just
to
as
this
you
point.
said it,
Yeah,
I
as you
was
say, it gets, and I'll be getting an email at probably some point when we're watching, I don't know, something like the Kardashians or something like that. But anyway, what to do, what to do. Yeah, drink a meal or have a hearty snack. Why? Because I often hear this. It slows the rate at which alcohol enters your bloodstream. Can I just ask, and you can run with this, is it the same concept as drinking milk? I was always told to drink a pint of milk. Did anyone
Well,
else?
I think because like even nuts and crisps, which I did have when I got to the bar, but honestly, the pot, I'm not exaggerating, the pot was that big. I couldn't get all my fingers into the pot to get the nuts.
Right.
And he bought 2 pots, so I ate all of them. And then he bought a little tiny pot of crisps, and I ate all of them because I thought I need some fat in my system.
Right.
Because when you get that kind of drunk where you make a fool of yourself and you lose your mind and you start falling around and passing out, that's what I would say to the girls. It's literally because you haven't eaten, because the liver just can't process it at that speed. And the problem is often when somebody's hungry or thirsty, they drink faster, and it's just a disaster. Now, a lot of young people will say, well, I don't want to eat because I want to get pissed quicker. Don't, because you just have a really shit time. Okay, don't have a huge meal, but have something.
I'm trying to think back to when I drank. I mean, I'm almost at the tipping point where I've spent more of my adult life
You have.
not drinking than drinking.
You have
which
now, I
I've
think.
never. If you'd have asked me that in my 20s, I'd have spat my vodka in your
wouldn't have
face.
believed it, would
No,
you?
not at all. But I'm trying to work out, did I often go out to get drunk? I don't think I ever thought I was going out to get drunk, but one just knew one was going to drink a lot. Do you know what I mean? I think if you're going out to get drunk, you would do everything like not eat and not drink milk and all that kind of stuff to make sure you got
But
drunk
you
quicker.
will still get drunk. It's like if you get drunk too quickly, that means you're going to crash down too quickly,
Yeah.
and your liver is working too hard. So just don't. Just have
Bacon
something to
sarnie.
eat.
Well, some of the science behind this: eating a meal increases the speed at which the alcohol can be cleared from your bloodstream. Another tip is to avoid dark liquors. So dark liquors, I guess that's what bourbon, rum, all that kind of stuff. They cause stronger hangovers than vodka, which could explain why so many alcoholics return to or turn to vodka as a means of just drinking more and more and more.
I mean, a hangover. I don't really get a hangover with vodka.
No, I did in the end because I was
But
drinking.
it worries me that
bottles
I
of
can drink a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it, and that is not good. Whereas a couple of glasses of wine and I'll feel a bit tipsy, whereas vodka I can drink a lot. So
This is an obvious one. They say between every glass of alcohol, drink a glass of
that
water.
really works. That's the best thing. A little bit of food and
Yeah.
water all the way through. Can I have some water? Could I have some water? That's like me. I was just drinking water all day yesterday. So then it just...
Most of the symptoms of a hangover
Dehydration.
are dehydration. There's then the
And just getting in and having a pint of water when you get in doesn't work in the same way.
Then there's the brat diet in the morning, which is originally designed for children with upset stomachs, which is bananas, rice, apple sauce, and toast. What the fuck is apple sauce?
Just apples that are boiled down to those.
God, that's a big effort, isn't it? The last thing you want to do with a hangover.
But you can buy it though.
The brat diet is easy to digest, helps you keep down food. Some people say greasy foods are helpful, but a heavy meal can make you feel worse. This is one that Nadia talks about in almost every part of life. Use ginger. Wow.
Because it's medicine, it's natural medicine, fresh ginger.
Buy ginger supplements. You can add fresh ginger. It's probably best to sip on ginger tea or eat ginger chews. I didn't know you could get ginger. Tra-la-la, iron brew. Best hangover. I used to love iron brew. Is it true that there are filaments of iron in it? I can't believe that. Replenish your electrolytes. That's not a word I'd be dealing with in the morning. But this can be sugar-free Gatorade or Powerade. You know those kind of energy drinks they give you in a run? Watermelon, cantaloupe, peaches and oranges are particularly good. So yeah, try one of those. All of those might help. I always remember that smoking was particularly
big fan
bad.
of Alka-Seltzer XS. Has to be the XS one.
Flat
Very
Coke,
good.
Debbie Otero. That was one I used to use. Yeah, flat soft
Eggs,
drinks.
protein, eggs on toast, really good for you.
Lee Peart, I am dying.
Oh
I
my
presume
God.
that's a hangover, is it?
Well, he was still there and dancing when I left.
Wow. Okay, that's cool.
He was really good. We did a game of traitors,
Oh yeah.
and Lee was Claudia Winkleman.
Could
He was really good. He took it really seriously.
could
So
he
it's
see?
funny. Yes, he could see. He
Can
left
I
his
can I ask a
fringe
question?
brushed back.
I just want to ask a question because I'm genuinely curious. Why is her fringe so close to her eyes?
Nobody knows.
Just it's one of those eternal questions that I just
But
wonder
Sea, Soul
about.
and Snow, I got it from last year though. She might have it this year. It's lovely, isn't it?
Ellery Jones, bacon and runny egg with sweet chili sauce. That's your solution. Natasha Milchin had my first
Have you
drink,
eaten,
gin and
Lee?
tonic, the other day because the restaurant didn't have tea. Wow, gin and tea or a gin and tonic?
Wow, that's a leap.
It's a stark choice.
Did you like it?
James Flanagan, I know we could drink less, but I swear by diarrhea
Diarrhea, yeah, it's
drink
really
a
good.
pint of it before you start. Changed my life. That is a huge
Well,
endorsement.
but that's similar to eating because or whatever, it's putting your salts and sugars. So yeah,
Elaine Denning,
diarrhea.
on the urgent news information that I want about Claudia Winkleman's fringe, Elaine Denning says because it made her career and now she can't cut it. Do you think it did? Do you think it's one of her sort of motifs? Lee, Lee Peart, I've only just got up and I have to be at Loose early as there's a pre-record.
Oh
I
my
can't do this.
God, I forgot the show is on. Jesus, he's got to warm up 2 audiences. That means they're doing a
Ooh.
show. Why do they do a pre-record day the day after the Christmas party?
That's evil.
They did the same recently for another party. After the NTAs, it was a double show. Weird.
Chloe Williams, welcome, Chloe.
weird.
Welcome, Chloe. Obviously, today is an ambulance strike. So, talking about drinking, there are all sorts of cautions in the papers about not getting ill, not being involved in accidents. I was reading the most appalling story, and this was before the strike, of a 93-year-old woman who fell in a care home, fractured her hip, and waited 25 hours. And I think one of the things we have to be careful about pre-strike and out of the strike is getting cross with ambulance services if they don't make it, because they are overstretched to breaking point. And in a way, one has to try and understand that this strike is a last ditch solution that they feel they can enact or do, because they feel that on a daily basis the system is allowing people to die.
And imagine how awful it is for them that they know that every day they are not providing the service they need to provide. These are professional people that care. A friend of mine the other day had to take her mum to hospital. Her mum had a fall. And they arrived at the hospital, the ambulance people took them in, and then they were sitting with them. And my friend was like, it's okay, I'm with her now. She said, no, we can't leave until you've been checked in.
Right.
So this is the sort of stuff. Or sometimes they can't even get the person out of the ambulance for hours and hours and hours. I told you about that woman last week. And they are saying, and it's the same when you listen to the nurses, too many people think it's just about the money. It's about the working practices, and that they are saying this, because we hear it all the time, NHS is going to collapse, NHS is going to collapse, but it really is going to collapse. And they're saying, we can't carry on giving people inferior care, it's doing us in, and we're going to leave, and we're so short-staffed already. So
I think
I really do support them.
I think one of the issues with the NHS is, I know when people say, oh, it's going to collapse, it's at breaking point and all that. The problem is, because it's populated entirely with people who are doing their best to make it work, it will never collapse in a sort of sudden sinkhole of disaster. It's erosion and erosion, erosion. And I think that's what both the nurses' strike and the ambulance strike is all about. Now, obviously what comes with that is easy, they become easy targets for publications like the Daily Mail and things like that. Anyone who believes that striking shouldn't happen at all. But the headlines on some of the papers, the Metro is going for a play on a pantomime phrase. You'd better watch out. Well, it's not. It's a song, isn't it? Sorry, it's a Christmas song. You'd better watch out, as in don't get hurt or ill. The front of the Eye says NHS strikes, safety at risk as ANA units declare crisis. You know, once again, so much of this is clickbait. I saw Erin Bullimore saying the situation is so grave in the NHS that in many regards there may not be much change to the service. Let's have a look at what the Daily Mail says. Let me just quickly look at what the Daily Mail says. How will they live with themselves if people die today?
Oh, God, shame on you. You are disgusting.
How do they live with themselves?
How do the Mail live with themselves?
Given that the
How do you
system
live with
allows people to
yourself?
die. I mean, it's
my
such
God.
a... Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Really? That's what makes me so angry about the government as well. How many people are dying every single day because of the appalling mismanagement
But we wouldn't put that headline. Why not apply that headline as much to the government?
Yes.
As to the ambulance service. I'm curious that these.
It's like when the bus turns up and everyone shouts at the bus that did turn up. It's the thing is, it's a mess, and it's been a mess for a very long time. And it's really interesting, guys, because people say to me all the time, God, so how is it for your parents, being in the Middle East, healthcare? And I'm like, incomparable to here. My dad the other day had to go and see a heart specialist. He left the house, went and met the doctor, had his scans, had his results and everything, and was back within the hour home. Now, I don't think either of my parents went to the hospital once without at least a 3-hour wait, at least, minimum. My mum has to have these monthly injections that was just, every time it was just horrendous, the waits, and now everything is a breeze out there. And yes, you do have to pay, but it's very, very cheap.
Christos, the buddy scheme is advised as well. If there's an emergency and you need to get to the hospital, by all means ask a friend or neighbour to get you there to avoid the pressure on ambulances. Yeah, and drive if you can drive.
But this is the other problem, isn't it? Is that we've all heard these conversations where people say, for God's sake, call an ambulance, because if you go to the hospital, they won't see you for 10 hours. That's the problem. So that's another mess up in the system, is that some people that could possibly get themselves there in a car call an ambulance because they know they're not going to get seen.
DT makes an interesting point. For the health secretary to say paramedics have made a conscious decision to inflict harm, it's an attempt to bait the public. That's the only strategy the government have got, is to essentially demonise the strikers.
Yeah, well, I don't think that will work for them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Somebody's just saying there that her son has scarlet fever and there's no liquid antibiotics. They're having to crush them up. I mean, it's like a third world country, isn't it?
Well, I was struggling to get my ADHD drugs, and the pharmacist actually said this is directly due to Brexit. She said we can't source them from Europe at the moment due to bureaucracy, etc. I just wanted to share in this a bit more detail has happened about Terry Hall, lead singer of The Specials, lead singer of Funboy 3. It became apparent yesterday on the radio just how important he was, how loved he was. And a very close friend of his shared the fact that he died in the end of pancreatic cancer that was diagnosed quite quickly. He had stomach cramps, and it just developed quicker than they thought it was. But he also...
That's the thing about pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, because one half of the hairy bikers has been diagnosed with it, hasn't he? Yeah. But he also shared in the fact that his last words were love, love, love. And I just thought, wow, last words. There's something about the whole last words thing that's quite symbolic. It's like a punctuation mark, isn't it, in a life? It's like a full stop. Or it can be quite funny, it can be philosophical, it can be quite functional. Oscar Wilde famously said, I think on his deathbed, he looked at the wallpaper opposite him and said, one of us has to go. And I just love that. But I thought, let's, in tribute to Terry Hall, because he had a fantastic sense of humour apparently as well, let's look at some famous last words. And I thought some of these would be interesting. Kurt Cobain said, it's better to burn out than to fade away. Steve Jobs' final words were, oh wow, which he repeated 3 times as he took a last look at his family.
Wow.
A friend of mine, Jim, yeah, I know, it's a bit goosebumpy. A friend of mine, Jim, a painter, a huge role model to me when I was younger, his mum, who had been in a sort of coma of sorts, who was uncommunicative for weeks until she died, just before she died, he said she sat up and just said, now I understand.
I know. Awful. But didn't tell anyone what it was.
King George V said, bugger Bogner.
I love this.
He would soon be well. He said he'd be able to visit, his response when his doctor told him he'd be able to visit Bognor Regis again. Bugger Bogner. Humphrey Bogart said to Lauren Bacall, goodbye kid, hurry back. Oh. Hunter S. Thompson, the nutter gonzo writer, said, relax, this won't hurt. That was his final line of his suicide note.
Oh, sweetie.
George Best said, don't die like I did. Elvis Presley's is so poignant. His final words in public were, I hope I haven't bored you.
Oh, God. That's such a performer's
line,
isn't it? Yeah.
P.T. Barnum said to his wife, Nancy, I want you to know my last thoughts are of you. John Belushi, when he took his last amount of Class A drugs that he died of an overdose, said, just don't leave me alone.
Oh, no, that's horrible. That would haunt me, wouldn't it, you, if you were his loved one?
Absolutely. David Bowie, music has been my doorway of perception and the house that I live in. I saw
that was his last words.
Said to his friend Gary Oldman towards the end of his life. Let me just find, there was another one. Sir Winston Churchill said, I'm bored with it all.
As he slipped into a coma. Has he been very ill for a long time?
Yeah. Salvador Dali, I like this. I do not believe in my death. Tragic one regarding Diana. I don't want to read that. Henrik Ibsen said, on the contrary. Stan Laurel said, I'd rather be skiing.
Oh, I love Stan Laurel.
Isn't that funny? John Lennon, not surprisingly, I'm shot. Spike Milligan, very famously, I told you I was ill. was his epitaph on his gravestone, actually. And Frank Sinatra said, "I'm losing it." Wow.
Spoken to his wife.
Spoken to his wife on his deathbed.
Oh, that's a lovely one. I don't know
Yeah.
who that person is, Ludwig Weinstein, but he said, tell them
Wittgenstein, a
all,
philosopher.
tell them all I've had a wonderful life.
Oh, yeah, Ludwig
That's
Wittgenstein.
a message he wanted past to friends who were due to visit him the following day when he knew he'd already have been dead.
It wasn't my nan's last words, but one of the last most sort of philosophical things or important things she ever said to me, I remember her standing in the hall of her bungalow. She turned to me and she said, "Do you know what, Marky? My biggest worry is Putin."
Yes, she did.
And I kind of, at the time, I was like, it didn't seem
Well,
as
you were
significant.
worried before anyone else
Well,
was worried.
I was, but I wasn't worried at that point.
I used to try and talk to people to work about it, and they'd go, "What are you talking about?" And I'd say, "Oh, it's so scary about Putin." This was years ago.
And she said there was just too many parallels to when she kind of lived through Hitler and World War II. Anyway, well done for muscling through that. Hang on. Let's say a shout out to Tori's friend Josie
Hi, Tori.
George. Hi,
Josie
Tori.
George. Hi, Josie
George. Hope you're well.
Sending big kisses.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a lovely day. Obviously, more Vlogmas chaos will be happening later. Don't tell Nads what happened last night. I trust you all.
Mark.
And have a lovely day, guys.